All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so we got just a basic Brain River basketball design here. So we'll go ahead and copy that. Bring it to a new page. And we're going to be making something like this. And the reason this changed, sometimes if you ever see this happen where if I go here, you can see how it's actually the same. If you use the feature right here on your wizard, this button in the middle, it will select all the same color for you. And if you switch it that way, it will switch the contour colors that match. But the only problem with that is if you adjust this contour at all, and you can see when I click on it actually, it still has that green fill color. So yes, it looked, right now it looks as, it changed everything like it's supposed to. But if you were to adjust this at all, it goes back to that green color. So when I moved it here, you can see how it went back to this green color here. Originally I had it this red. So you have to if you select this red color here and select all the same color, which is this middle button, it allows you to quickly change it to whatever color we want. But if I click on this contour, because it's still like an active live text, it has this fill color as red. So we actually would have to come down to this eyedropper again, click on that yellow, and then when we click on it, you can see how it's actually set to that yellow color or gold. So the question, how do you most efficiently change everything to a given color? So that's, it is an efficient way in a sense, because like once you do it this way, it makes it visible to see all the same colors. Now keep in mind, like this is still a live text, so we're gonna have to come in here and like break apart our contours and stuff like that. So once we get this cut ready, you'll be able to grab the actual layers, because right now if you grab this outside blue, that's a contour. So if you try to click on, usually it doesn't let you change. All right, so there it goes. So you can see I have the contour selected and I'm switching, I'm clicking on different colors and it's not changing anything. What it's actually changing would be like the inside color, if anything. The contour itself, you have to change the color using, this color and any of these color schemes in here. So you can do the sliders, you can do, anything like that. But once we get this cut ready, so if I were to highlight that and merge the 3 color live text, this becomes its own solid object, and then I can change it to whatever color I want. So usually when I'm designing, I honestly don't, I wait till a little bit closer till I'm cut ready. That's more like the way I had it set up here is to kind of help visually see it. Like when we had it all, trying to go back, the same color like this. This is just to help like know what it's going to look like at the end. But if this color is, purple right now, I actually don't really care that much, because unless I'm trying to show a mock-up or separate by color once it's cut ready, that doesn't matter. So if it's easier to, change everything while you're designing, go ahead. If not, once we're done, you can highlight that, merge 3 color, and then I could, come back and make that purple, maybe gray, and then adjust it as I need it. All right. So the first thing we're going to do with this design, pretty basic design, we're going to grab our ellipse tool and we're just going to draw a circle. So once we have that circle created, you're going to make a copy. So just Control C, Control V. Now we'll put that circle on top. So we have 2 circles now. And I'm going to grab my top circle. I'm going to select one of these corners on the outside. And I'm just going to hold Shift as I bring that in. And do you see how it moves it all at the same rate? So instead of grabbing like one corner and bringing it down, and you can kind of see how it moves it over here. If we hold shift, it will bring in all the edges at the same time and just making it even, you know, perfect circle still. So we're just, you know, looking for something like that. So now we have 2 circles on top. And whatever thickness you want for your outside band, that's kind of what we're setting up right now. So if you want it thicker, you can bring that in more. If you want a thinner line, you can bring it out a little bit more. Now once we have those set up, we're going to select both of these objects, so you can highlight them all together. You can hold shift and select one at a time. But once you have them both selected, you're just going to select back minus front, and that's going to be up on this toolbar right here, and that's just going to like subtract our gold through the silver or the gray, and then just leave us with our circle here. My voice is cutting out. Let me see if I can mess with my mic a second. See if that helps. All right. We had a question too. Is that the only way to do an offset? So not exactly. There's a couple different ways. You can just draw your circle. Now what you do want to do is when I'm drawing these circles, I am holding control, and that makes it a perfect circle. But at this point, you could just come up top to your contour tool, and that's the same color, so let's make it black. But this contour tool will also give you an offset, so you can control it this way. So where the black is, that's going to be, you know, your outside bar or circle. And you can right click once you have it set, and you're going to hit break contour group apart. All right. Now that will make a full solid circle behind. So at that point, you would still need to do the back minus front. But there's multiple ways you could get that offset. You could actually still use the magic boundary tool underneath on your live template editor too. If you had a circle, you could make your boundary, let's say 0.1. That's going to add a boundary around your design. And then again, back minus front, and that will give us our circle. Yeah, and then we also, that's a good suggestion too. Someone mentioned that you could, once you had your circle here, you could increase your pen thickness or your line thickness. And maybe you make it 50. So whatever your thickness you have set there, and then convert outline to object. All right, so that's that button right here. If you don't convert outline to object and you just have your circle like this, if you go to wireframe and your circle is just like one line, thin line like that, or just one line, you need to make sure you hit this convert outline to object, and then that's when you'll actually see the thickness that you wanted. Would you do a negative number to put the offset inside? With that, I wouldn't. Yeah, you could, but you know, it's pretty much all the same at that point. So you can do it to the outside or inside. But yeah, there's multiple ways to kind of end up with our circle right here. All right. So next, we're gonna go to our 3-color live text. And I'm just going to hit apply. So it doesn't matter, unless like I set up the text beforehand, our text is always going to be 10 inches wide with our live text setup. And because I have 2 contours around the outside of it, it's actually going to be a little bit wider than that. It's almost 10.4. So at this point, you can adjust your text. You can make it, you know, not as tall. You can make it wider, you can stretch it, you know, whatever you want to do. It's still, whatever you leave it at, it's still going to be in that live text. But because we have the 3-color and this one, whatever we do, we want to make sure we do to both. So you don't want to just select the top layer and move that down, because then the back's not going to mess up and merge 3-color live text won't work correct. So just make sure you highlight both. And in this case, we'll bring it in just a little bit. And then I'm going to select both of them. Now, when I have them both selected, you can see these kind of like squares, these black squares around the outside. If I click just on the, pretty much like the black text again, you'll see how if I hover over any of this, it gives me that like 4 arrows. When you have that, or when you see that, if you left click again, you'll notice how you get arrows around the outside of your design. So instead of having those like black little boxes, now we have these arrows. So the ones that are going up and down on the sides, we're just going to grab that and just kind of pull it down a little, and that's just going to help shape our text just like that. Now you do have an option in here too that already has that kind of a similar look. So if you want, like, you know, I just did it that way so I can control it a little bit more, but that's definitely like, you know, pretty much the same setup here is what we just created. It's just not, you know, skewed as much. So it will create, you know, you already should have that basic shape as part of your live text. Now it's just, this way gives you complete control. So if you wanted to, you know, go more that way, you could. If you wanted to go less. But even with the one with our example here, you could do the same thing and lift this up too. So whatever's easier, like if this one you didn't, you know, was fine for you, we could use this one too. Alright, so one thing I like to do with most of the live text I use, I round off the edges of my contours. It's, with the basic like impact fonts and stuff like that, it shouldn't matter as much. But some of the fonts, especially if it's like really, like some of them will be like jagged almost, those are going to give us some, sometimes it'll have like really big lines coming out of the bottom or stuff like that where it just doesn't look as good. So I like to round that. So if you select the red contour, next to the offset, we'll have our corner options, and I just move that to round. And then you want to do the same with the white contour on the inside, just so those match up. And what I'm going to do real quick, just to make sure it's all centered, I'm going to group my live text, select my circle, and just hit the P key, P as in Paul, and that will just make sure my design is all centered. The text font itself, you won't be able to round those edges off. So the inside color, those won't be able to round off. Alright, so next we're going to put, you know, any type of sports ball in here. So you can do two different things at this point. You can clear this area already, so there's no line behind it. Or you can just use, like you can just replace this with any type of clip art. And then when you're getting ready to, you know, get it cut ready, you can get rid of any overlapping areas that way. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So pretty much what we could do is select this here, do a trim, and then I just bring this in a little bit. And that's gonna, because I trimmed it already, this area behind it is always gonna be gone. All right, so you can do it that way, or if you were to leave it this way, let's say we replaced this, not add artwork, change artwork, and switch basketball. So if you replace this, this will still be behind it. So when you got this cut ready, what we'd have to do is come down here, magic boundary, remove shapes behind, 1. And with this is kind of one of the reasons I like to pre-clear it, is because like with this type of sports like ball vector, it's actually not a closed object. So because it's not like a fully closed object, you're going to get little pieces like this on the inside that might not go away. So then I have to spend more time, you know, click on those and then kind of try to grab all those nodes and then delete them out again. So it's just an extra step. When most cases, you know, this is already going to, you know, whatever's behind here, we're going to need trim, you know, 95% of the time, most likely. So I typically, on a design like this, I would just trim it, get rid of that back piece, and then just bring that in a little bit so it has like a little room on each side. Change artwork, and you know, whatever you put in there now, there would be no overlaps. Alright, so the last part is just kind of adding the rest of our text. So we'll do 2 color this time, and we're going to hit apply. Now again, it's still going to start at 10 inches, so that's when we can bring it down. Let's go ahead and round off our edges, and this here is the contour offset, so I'm going to just bring that down a little bit so it's not as big of a contour. Now you can see kind of how it's not lined up perfect right here. So that's when we would, again, select it once. You'll see the black boxes. Click it one more time. And then I'll kind of zoom in this area, grab this side, and then try to line it up just like that. Now I'm going to select the inside color here and just make that white. So we're going to do it one more time, hit apply, bring that down, bring it over to this side. And now it's almost the opposite here. And we're just going to bring that up a little bit that way. We had a question. Could you have copied the bigger text and changed it to a 2 color to get the same angle? So here, I think this is what you're asking. If I took like this layer here, and this does have a white contour already on it, so if you saw it, and then make it smaller so it already kind of had the same angle that it was on. So the only issue with that is because it's from like sometimes when you create like a live text from an existing one, like you copy it, it will kind of mess up when you're going through the live template editor. So let's bring this to a new page just because I already have so much stuff on this one, and see if it does kind of mess up for us if we do it this way. So I'll get rid of that back piece there, find text. So we'll change this to Braden, and then we'll change that to river, and let's say basketball. All right, so it all worked pretty good there, but sometimes after we save it, if we select, you know, this and hit enter, enter, enter. All right, so it's not doing it now, but when you're hitting enter and going through these different text fields, because you can hit enter to go to the next one. Let's say I'm on, let's hit show all or uncheck that. So I have Braden and River, and then I copied this one and made the basketball one underneath. So a lot of times it'll just automatically move the word river to basketball instead of like going to the next one without changing it. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed that when you're designing or anything. But that's one of the issues like we've run into when we do copy them from existing ones, is that it like moves the text from like one to the other. We don't necessarily want it to. So in this case it did work, but just out of habit I probably would not copy like an existing one, just so you don't like run into any issues. Now it's not that hard of a fix. Like you could just, you know, especially like a design where it doesn't have like a 3 color, you could just select the text tool here, the A, manually click into it, and then you know, change it this way anyway. So like if you see, sometimes I've designed and I have done that before, and it's not like a hard fix. It's just knowing how to fix it and what's going on. So you know, that's the only thing with it. Let's get rid of these ones here. So now we're kind of almost got our design done, and we'll throw the word basketball in there. And then let's just make this contour just a little bit thicker, and we'll make our white one a little thicker too. Right. So that's kind of the setup there. Now if we wanted to, we could still add maybe like a couple stars in here. I could add the year, the date, or like the year or varsity, anything like that. You know, anything extra we want to have. So like little things like our rectangle tool, I could maybe grab them like this. Let's make these a little bit smaller. And then we'll kind of angle them this way. Now, when you first make these rectangle boxes, if you double click on them, nothing really happens. Like you can rotate them and stuff. But once you convert those to curves, so I'm hitting Control Q on my keyboard, you can right click and hit convert to curves that way too. But when we do that, I can actually move these nodes on the inside like that. So I don't really want to move the lines. Oops, didn't mean to do that. And then once I have those set up, I can just weld them to the circle, you know, and I can just add something just like that. Just to add a little bit something extra into my, you know, design. You said sometimes the nodes will be red. Okay, so sometimes, like if you have 2 objects, like let's get rid of this contour. And let's weld this text here and make it red so we can see it. So sometimes if you have 2 objects selected and they're not like grouped or welded together, it will show you different color nodes to kind of like let you know that those aren't welded, those are 2 separate pieces. So it happens a lot too if like your design's grouped together and you double click onto it. It will show you all the, you know, nodes, but if there's different colors in it or different, you know, parts that aren't welded, it sometimes will separate them like that. We have a question. Would you add something below the small text in the blank area, or would that be too much? Yeah, you could definitely, you know, add, you know, you could do maybe like the year 2006, you know, anything like that. You could also, we can make a one color live text, hit apply, and I could even come up top here and put a number. Maybe fit something right in this area. So we could do that too. So anything like that. You know, I mean, even if you wanted, you could have just like a collect. You know, it doesn't actually have to be like a pattern, but you could just have kind of something like this. And then we could come in here and kind of fill it. So there's, you know, any of those areas that might have like open spots, you could do anything kind of like we're doing here. And then, yeah, we can finish them up down here too. And yes, I do have two color reds right now. I just, I would fix that, of course, before we finished our design. Right, and I can even make this a little bit bigger and just put a little bit of a white contour around the outside. So that makes it stand out a little bit more, but still already trims that background area. And let's actually set this one up the same way. So we'll put that contour back and make that white. And I think the basketball text is a little bit like, I think it could go a little lower on this side. So I'm going to highlight that section real quick and just bring that down just a tad there. So any questions on our first design? How to get cut ready and how to save. All right, perfect. So right now, because everything, the actual, the word river, I've converted to curves already. But everything else is in a live text. So before you get this cut ready, that's the point you want to save this as a live text. Because that way, when you hit find text now, you can go in here and, again, I've already welded river together. So that one's not showing up. But everything else, you could come in, you could make this instead of basketball, we could say soccer, switch this out to soccer ball. We can change the school, anything like that. If we get it cut ready, we won't be able to go back and edit it anymore. So this is where we go to File, Save As. And remember how I told you to kind of grab your TRW templates folder and pin it to your quick access. This is why another reason we like to do that is because when we save into the live templates, we should already have that folder saved on our on the left side here. So you'll see TRW templates. It opens right into where all your other live templates are stored. And then I could just set this up as, you know, I could make my own folder in here. And I think I already have one called like custom templates. So right here you have custom templates, custom order form, you know, so anything like that. Or, you know what, this is really close to my live template volume 2 or 3. Because of that, I'm going to save it in here. So you can, you know, again, you can save it wherever you want. Again, I have a custom folder here, haven't saved anything to it. So let's add this. And I could call it, you know, sports live template. I could just call it blank live template 1. Whatever's going to, you know, help me remember or search that. But in this case, let's call it sports blank live template 1. All right. Then you just hit save. And then anytime you want to open that, you can now just go to your open template. You could search it, or if I went to that custom view extra large, you would see that right in there. And now when we open it here, that's when it will say like Untitled 6. And that's just because I've already opened 6 tabs. Now to get it cut ready, you know, let's just say we're good here. We're going to leave it as is. So first thing I'm going to do is highlight the word first thing, let's ungroup. Then I'm going to go ahead and highlight the word basketball and hit merge 3 color. So that's all separated now for us. Our Braden has a contour, so that's a 2 color, so I can just hit break apart. Same with river, break apart. And then this white fill, I'm going to select our white fill in the contour. It's not a contour anymore because we broke it off. And so I'll select the backing and then select back minus front. Same with these two. So you can see white fill and it just subtracts it right through there. All right. Our number 23 has a contour, so I can break that off. And then I can select that contour, the basketball, and back minus front. So now all that's been trimmed. And then lastly, we come back to this piece here, remove shapes behind, magic boundary, and that would trim everything like behind it just like that. So now all the black, you can weld it together. That way it changes all at the same time. Same with all the red, select that, weld it together. And then at that point, you know, it's sized to 9.7. The way we set it up, this could be used for glitter or regular vinyl. So you can come in here and use the glitter colors too. Select that, throw it on our t-shirt. Let's see if we have like something that pops a little bit more. There we go. So then we'd have our finished design. Any other questions? All right, perfect. Holographic rainbow black vinyl is not in the system yet. Correct. Yeah, that would be something I would have to ask Matt. Because I know we got some of those FDC in there too. That one's actually going to be interesting to see if we're able to add that like the the 2-color one, like all those new colors that came out where the light hits it. So I'll ask him what he has planned for that and see if we can get that added sooner than later. What if you wanted to rhinestone it? So to rhinestone this whole design would be, pretty difficult, especially with like the smaller stars. If you wanted to accent it, like maybe around the sports ball here, that would, right now it's all welded together, so that would be a little bit harder to do right now. But before we welded everything, so like when we had the basketball here, what I would probably do in this situation, because again it's a basketball that isn't completely, like there's parts that go in the inside and stuff, is I would draw a circle around it. Try to get it like pretty much the shape of my basketball. And okay, so I moved the basketball to the top layer, but my circle, you can kind of see it behind it, is pretty much the shape of my basketball. So I'm just kind of moving these lines to the outside of it. And then once you had that set up, you could go to the Magic tab, Stone Outline. Oh. Now that happened, and if it happens to you, it's because we still had our contours around our design. So the Braden, the river, and the basketball all have contours. So when we add rhinestones, we need to make sure we have that all edited first. So merge 3 color, break apart, and then you should be able to hit Stone Outline, and it'll do that for us. Now that will happen. So our basketball here, I'm just gonna copy it, because it's gonna get this tool that we're using will get rid of everything around it, including the original basketball. So we would just delete that out, and then I copied it, so then I just pasted the basketball right inside. So that's out. But like most of the, like if you had just a regular basketball that didn't have this kind of more of like a scribble look to it, like our soccer ball here, all the edges were there, it would just be a one-click button and it would add the stones around it. What about adding stones around the word river? Again, everything's already been welded, so at this point we couldn't, but you could technically use the stone outline around the word river and it would do that too. It's just there's not really a lot of room for stones in that area, so it's not going to look as good as something like just a quick accent around like the sports ball here. And also the reason we'd want to do it around this basketball or like the sports ball here is because every time this circle would be like the same. So if I selected this design, and instead of basketball they wanted a soccer ball, I could just come up here and hit change artwork and search soccer, switch that out with the soccer ball, and it's still gonna like fit perfect around it. So I could use this same template, but if I did it around the word river or basketball, whatever one we're looking at, that template will only work for that word. But this template would work for any perfect circle clip art that you had. So like a lot of the sports balls. Yeah, when you're designing, we had a question, could you like plan for adding stones? Definitely you could do that. It's just, one of those things that this is, if it's just one row or one color stones, it might not take that long to brush in. But this is a quick accent. It's, probably 30 stones at the most. So let's see. 50. Oh, so actually a little bit off, but 51 stones. And it might cost us, 20 to 30 cents for those stones. And we're going to charge like $5 to $6 for it. And it's going to take us like 10 seconds to brush that in. When we have a word river, we need to make sure it's all cleaned up, looks really good. And then I won't ever be able to use that template again unless I'm using it for that specific design. Here, I can change the text from Braden River Basketball to, Lakewood Ranch, Mustangs, soccer. And then I can just switch out the clip art, but all the rest of the template would still work perfectly. But yeah, great questions. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our second one here. Again, this is just using some basic shapes and the live text. And this is, something that you could use for a lot of different sports. All right, so this one here, we go ahead and use our text effects. We'll go back to our 3-color. And remember, if you ever have like a shape selected and you want to go back to where it's just flat, that's when you can just hit the arrow keys. So on either side, you just hit the arrow key and it'll go back to just being flat like that. So we're going to hit apply. Go ahead and move this over and we'll shrink it down a little bit. And again, you don't have to use these settings, but I just like to use the rounded corners. And if as you're designing, you can adjust your contour colors, anything like that. So if you want to make it like blue and silver or blue and gray, we could do it now. Whatever color scheme you're looking for, you can kind of change it now or as you're designing. It's up to you. So again, we're just going to select our rectangle tool, bring this one across the top here. And then just going to make a copy and just drop it right below it. So let's move this one over so we can kind of line everything up. But once I have my 2 rectangles in place, I'm going to group those together. Let's go with the darker blue. So I'm going to group my rectangles together here. And then I'm going to highlight everything, hit P as in Paul, and that's just going to center it for me, just like that. And then I'm just going to make one extra copy, just like that. Alright, so when I select this rectangle, remember now, see how I'm double clicking on this and it goes, one click, it goes to the black boxes around my design. One more click, it goes to where I can like skew it or rotate it, something like that. So if you're not actually seeing the nodes of your rectangle, so if you don't see when you click onto it these blue boxes, that shape has not been converted to curves yet. Alright, so you won't actually be able to adjust. Like the only thing you'll be able to do pretty much with your rectangle at this point is adjust the height or the width of it, or skew it. But what I want to do is I'm going to convert it to curves, and I want to kind of create this look you see here. So once I convert it to curves, I can bring this down and maybe bring this down a little bit this way too. And then once I have this extra one here, and then I'm just going to bring it up just like that. it just pretty much match the thickness, or match like the angle that it's at. All right, so the next part, really we can add some more text, or you can add the clip art if you want to kind of see how much room you have here for your text. So let's go ahead and add our clip art. And what's maybe a different sport besides soccer, or what? Just give me, shout out a sport and we'll use that one instead. I like how none of you guys knew not to say baseball. All right, so I got a couple different footballs, so we'll do football. Yeah, because I was ready for, I said sports, so baseball doesn't count. All right, so there's a couple different styles you could do. You could do the football helmet. You could do, the football vertical like this, or we have kind of this style, which works pretty well, the football thick. So we'll add that one in here. So again, this is one that it might look a little bit weird now, but it's okay that, and you can even leave it kind of just like as a third color, or a color that doesn't really match, just so we can make sure we see it. But this is something that at the end we would clear all of our overlapping pieces. All right, so kind of like in the first one, I got rid of everything already. This one, we have all the edges around it, so we're not going to worry about clearing anything behind it right now. All right, so next, let's go ahead and move this to 2-color. And you can adjust your outline color. Like if you know you want it to be white, you can adjust that right here, right now. So I'll hit apply, and that will add the white contour already around my design. So go ahead and round those out, and then I'm just going to size this right up top here, and we're going to make that contour just a little bit smaller. All right, so this one I kind of put just to the side here. Let's go ahead and put this one in the middle, and we'll show you another little effect you can add with your text. So let's say I have this one set here. So the next thing I'm going to do is go to my edit tab, and now again, this is already, this is already in the envelope shape. So I'm going to just select that, go to my text spacing, and I'm going to add, so real quick, just so you can see what I'm doing, right up top here, we're at 7.066 inches wide. Let's just call it 7 inches, okay? When I'm using this text spacing tool, I'm pushing the text so there's more space between each letter. What this does when we do that, all it does is increase the space between each letter. And it never changes the height or width of our design. It just changes the spacing between each letter. So it kind of gives us a cool little effect. So that, when we set up our live text and we do that, when I come in here and I select, let's do show all. So I select text here. If I change this to manatee, you can see that it keeps the spacing still between each letter. So instead of it being, kind of like this Lakewood is, where all the text is, like it's supposed to be, it just adds a little bit more space between each one. When creating your live text, would it be better to use long, so both short and long's names would fit? So as long as you use the live text, the text effects here, it doesn't matter. Like when you have the word text here, if you put So let's unclick show all. If I were to put USA, it's going to fit. If I put basketball, it's going to fit. So no matter what I put into this point, when we use the text effects tab, it's always going to fit into it, no matter if it's a long word. Even if I made, like, instead of basketball, if I put varsity basketball all in the same line, it's still going to put it, like, all inside that same area. It might scrunch up the letters a little bit, but it's going to hold to that height and width no matter what. And if you were to increase the contour here, you could technically, or like try to get rid of that inside cavity, or the inside cavities that are there. Or at the end, if you don't like those, we could just like draw a box over it and just like subtract that through, and we wouldn't have to worry about it either. So, you know, we'll wait for the end, and you can kind of, you know, choose how you'd like it set up. Alright, so now we need a one color live text. Hit apply. And now I'm just kind of fitting this into this area here. So this is a little bit easier. You're just going to lift this straight up. This side straight up. And kind of just fit it right in there. Oh, so I messed that up. So let's do football. We want Hurricanes. And did you guys see how when I misspelled this, it kind of, see how my A is off right now? Like there's no white contour around the A. Do we all know how to fix that issue if we run into it? Alright, cool. So it looks like most of it do. In case you didn't, you can pretty much just barely adjust this like width or the height, and usually that will fix it. So I just brought it out a little bit. If you bring it in, it can fix it too. So that's usually how we'll fix those issues if we run into it. And then this will be football here. And then the last one is just the number, or the, yeah. So drop that right in this area. Find text. And let's say number 15. Alright, so that's going to be our second design. So we'll go ahead and copy that. I always like going to a new page. So we have that sized up now. We'll go to Files, Save As. It brings me right to my last save point, so I'm in the custom folder. So I would call this Sports Blank Live Template 2. Save. And now that's good. So the football we're going to leave like that until we're getting it ready to cut. So now let's say we're going to get this design cut ready. So everything's already filled out. We want it to say manatee, we want it to say hurricanes and football. So now first thing, select hurricanes, merge 3 color. Now why did that just do that when I did that? Why is it when I hit merge 3 color, why is it changing this color black? So the reason why is if I move this color, see how the back color is black still behind my, because when we work with the 3-color live text, let's bring this in a little bit. When we work with the 3-color live text, it's 2 text layers on top of each other. When I just select this top layer and I change the color to it, it doesn't change the back color. All right, so when we're getting this design cut ready, when we hit this merge 3 color, it's getting rid of the top layer. It trims everything out like it's supposed to, but this, whatever color was behind it will be there. So that in that case, we would just, make sure we go back and change it to the right color. So it will happen. You just literally click on the color you want it back to, and it's fixed. All right, so here we have our contour. So let's go ahead and break that apart. And then I would just select this contour here, or the piece that I just, the contour that we made an object, and then a back minus front. All right. So that's what I was saying. At this point, if you wanted to, you can pretty much just highlight that middle section if you didn't want all those little pieces in between it. And we could just delete all those out. The word football, we would just subtract through. So you would select the word football, hold shift, back minus front, and now that's pulled through. All right. So now, this is where I would want to decide if I wanted stones or not. If I wanted stones, I can just select my football, go to Magic tab, Stone Outline, and it's going to clear every overlapping piece around that for me and drop stones in there just like that. So it's kind of hard to see, but when I make them a different color, you'll see them. So that's one way to clear all those overlapping pieces. If you didn't want stones, that would be like pretty much the same thing as coming here, selecting the football, magic boundary with the remove shapes behind selected, and it would trim everything for us just like that. And then again, I would just, match that football to the rest of my design. So as long as you don't weld this football, you can still go back and go to the Magic tab and hit Stone Outline, and it'll still drop those stones for you. All right. So now let's go ahead and select all of our gold, weld that together. Select all of our blue. So it's a little bit different shade, so we'll select those and then weld it to this one too. And again, the way we set this up, it could be used for glitter, it could be used for regular vinyl. Make those crystal mock-ups. Must have been missing some stones. Let's see what happened there, because it only brought in some of those stones. Okay, there we go. And then we have our finished design. And you can see how it has the glitter, combination with the stones. And then if you wanted to add a little bling, we can make those stones pop just a little bit more. Alright, so any questions on our second design? Perfect. You guys were easy tonight. Matt mentioned. Sorry, I just saw Matt mention resizing it today. What was that in regards to? Sorry, I didn't see that until now. Oh, was that about the text when it ran into that issue? Gotcha. Perfect. Perfect. Cool. Yeah, Matt. Two classes in a row today. It can be a little long. So, well, I appreciate you guys all coming tonight. But we had a question too about getting these designs. So, yeah, I think I can add these to the order if you guys would like. So what I'll do is I'll save them to the where you purchase. Like it's a free webinar, obviously, but when you like put it in your cart, you'll have that order. I'll attach these designs pretty much like it would be like any other paid premium webinar that we attach designs to. I'll attach these designs to the free one, and then the recorded. I'll attach the recorded version, but since it's free, it'll be right up on YouTube, so you won't actually need like you can just go to YouTube and view it. You won't need the direct link because it won't be like hidden or anything like that. All right. But yeah, I'll save it just like as the live template, pretty much how they're already saved. I'll go back and fix the one that the river's not already converted. But yeah, so you'll get 2 free designs with that too. Matt also mentioned there's a 24-hour sale on Rhinestone decal pack, $100 off, then 65 off that number. So the decal pack he did that with, or was that the kids live pack? So both, huh? Let me see if he added that on the site yet. All right, cool. Yeah, so I'm pulling that up right now. So it looks like, oh, he did add it. All right, cool. So yeah, so right now, based off today's webinar with Matt, or training with Matt, we've already taken $125 off Kids Pack 1 and 2. And then it looks like he added the decal pack, $100 off that. So, you'll get the 175 minus 65% off on top of that. So I'm sure they're going to come out to about like 60 to 70 bucks, something like that. This one might be, closer to like 85. So, but yeah, those are all great deals. So those ones, those are only good though. It's one of those things where it's like 24 hours. And unless there's, I know we had that one time where like our site was down when we had like one of those webinars, so we couldn't actually go get stuff. Unless something like that, they're usually down within that 24 hours. So this one will go. We say 24 is probably closer to 30, just because we'll stop it at midnight tomorrow instead of like 8 p.m. or something like that. So you'll get 24 plus a little bit extra, but it's one of those things like these ones here. We'll discount them 10, 15 bucks for a few days. But these ones that Matt's been doing the live, he's been pretty strict on like more closer to like the 24-hour kind of mark. So if you're interested, check those out. If you have any questions, let us know. Also, just in case, for all 3, it was just over like 201 bucks. So I mean that's usually you're paying $325 for one of them. You're getting all 3 for less, or just over 200. So pretty good deal there. Also, I think most of us probably know this at this point, but just in case there's anyone new, under feature we have our Design Today giveaway. So these are all free. Every day we're going to update it. So coffee is a hug and a mug. That's going to be gone tomorrow. We listed the Let's Party today. So that one will be, they're up for about 48 hours and then get pulled. He still hasn't put up those patterns. I know he was trying to plan something with the patterns. So just don't give up on him yet. I I talked to him about it, and he mentioned he had something in mind with them. So he might just be like holding off on that just for a second. But I know he mentioned, like, we talked about it. So hopefully soon that will be, one of the packs he uses on one of these lives. We had a question that coffee design, can you make a clip art from it? Yeah, technically you can. This one might be a little bit harder because it has like the F kind of cutting it out a little bit. But it would take a little bit of work, but you could technically like grab that out of there. You just have to kind of go back and draw the parts that it's missing. Matt said soon. Yeah. I know it is one thing. I definitely mentioned it to him because when we had that class, I asked him if we could do something with that soon, and he said yeah. He just already had a couple things planned out, but just don't give up on it. It will happen soon. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. If I don't talk to you guys before then, have a great weekend. We'll have some more trainings next week too. Try to do more, kind of get back onto almost every day, either like a live or training. So just keep a lookout for that. If you guys run into any issues on anything, just let us know. But I will give you those guys. I'll give you the designs we created tonight. Just look for those tomorrow, along with the recording. All right. And if there's anything you guys want to see in these, like, maybe next time I'll do a webinar and kind of extracting, clip art like this and kind of remaking it. That's something that we haven't done in a long time or really haven't focused on. So that's like something we could do. But if you guys ever have, something you're struggling with, anything like that, just shoot us an email. They'll, mark it for Sean, anything like that. And, just say like webinars ideas, and a lot of times I'll get some like great ideas, or there might be 2 or 3 of you that email the same thing, and it's just like, all right, I'm gonna focus on that. So any suggestions, we're always looking for them. I sent one the other day. Charlene, did you mark it for Sean, or did you okay, I'll have to look at that. Creating rhinestone temples. Yeah, we can do some more rhinestone stuff for sure. Okay, perfect. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. You guys have a great night and a safe weekend if we don't talk before then. All right. Night, guys.